On one summer night in the small town of San Jose de la Rinconada, tragedy broke loose near Seville, Spain, and suddenly turned disastrous. The fair's once bubbling spinning disc ride, usually a symbol of fun and excitement, collapsed without warning. In an instant, 28 people were injured, filling the cheerful environment with desperate cries of panic. Children laughing only moments ago were now victims of a horrifying accident. But what happened? How could a perfectly safe ride suddenly become a death trap for so many people? This is the tragic tale of the annual summer fair, which left 28 innocent souls crushed under a terrifying park ride. Every year, as the warm summer winds swept through the small Spanish town of San Jose de la Rinconada near Seville, the residents looked forward to an old tradition, the annual summer fair, a festival that turned the quiet town into a place where people were happy, laughing, and getting to know each other. It wasn't just another event, it was a vibrant symbol of their unity and shared memories. The star attraction for many was the spinning disc ride. A whirlwind of delight, its flashing lights and exhilarating speed had been a rite of passage for the town's young and old for years. Its thrilling spins echoed with countless laughs and happy screams, creating unforgettable moments of pure fun. And safety? Well, that was never a second thought for anyone. Every year, like clockwork, the ride passed all safety inspections with flying colors. After all, it was the main attraction of the fair. So how did this ride go from a source of joy to an instrument of mass destruction? As the summer sun dipped below the horizon, the fairground sprung to life, bursting with color and sound. Children clutching cotton candy, parents laughing, and the air buzzing with pure, untainted joy. Excitement echoed in every corner, from the game stalls to the food vendors, building up an almost palpable anticipation. The spinning disc only made things better. Children lined up, their faces lit with pure anticipation, and their hands tightly clenching the tickets. Parents watched with affectionate smiles as the disc started its wild dance, every whirl sending thrills through everyone on the ride. From afar, it was a sight to behold. The bright lights of the ride pierced the darkness, painting the night sky with blazes of red, blue, and green. The laughter and cheers from the ride were contagious, spreading happiness like ripples in a pond. But little did anyone know that these moments of joy were merely the calm before the storm. As the laughter and cheers still echoed in the air, a sudden jolt changed everything. The spinning disc ride, the heartbeat of the fair, froze in a gut-wrenching twist. There was no warning, no moment of realization. 1 minute the ride was the center of joy. The next, it was the epicenter of a growing disaster. Suddenly the air was filled with a different kind of scream, a horrifying chorus of fear that replaced the earlier laughter. The ride had suffered a breakdown, and initial reports pointed to an electrical failure. Apparently, the ride that was spinning just fine merely seconds ago suddenly snapped in half, throwing people off their seats and crushing a total of 28 people. The people on the ride, children and adults alike, who were enjoying the adrenaline rush, suddenly found themselves in the face of a terrifying ordeal. Their joyous cheers turned into heart-wrenching screams as they were flung from the spinning disc. It was chaos and despair as 28 innocent souls were crushed under the terrifying park ride. In that terrifying moment, the people on the ride experienced fear, disbelief, and helplessness. Their ecstatic faces turned pale with shock, and their eyes filled with terror as they realized the gravity of the situation. For them, it was not just a ride gone wrong. It was a life-altering moment that would forever be etched in their memories. In an instant, the fairgrounds were thrown into chaos. Parents rushed towards the ride, their joyous faces now masking fear. The cheers gave way to cries of confusion, and a looming dark cloud of terror obscured the bright lights. And on the ground lay the young victims, the recent adventurers, their night of fun turning into a nightmarish reality. What was to come next? Who would step up in this moment of fear and confusion? As the dust settled on the scene, something remarkable began to unfold. The crowd, only moments ago lost in chaos and confusion, started pulling together. Faced with a crisis, the people of San Jose de la Rinconada showed courage and strength that were nothing short of heroic. People hurried to the aid of the injured, using their clothes to stop bleeding, holding hands, and offering comfort. Amid the sounds of sirens, first responders rushed to the scene. Doctors, nurses, firefighters, and police officers all sprang into action, their faces stern but their actions swift and sure. The most severely injured were whisked away to the hospital. Among them was an 11-year-old girl, her laughter from earlier that night replaced with cries of pain. She was airlifted, with her head and leg injuries requiring immediate attention. Her terrified face became a sign of the night's tragic turn. As the rescue operations continued, one question hung heavily in the air. How did this happen? And more importantly, could it have been prevented? As the injured were rushed to the hospital and the extent of the tragedy sank in, the town mayor, Javier Fernandez, stepped forward. Determined to make sense of the horrific event, he announced the immediate halt of the fair. It was a decision met with nods of agreement from the shocked crowd. The mayor's next words sent a ripple through the hushed crowd. An investigation would be launched to determine what caused the spinning disc ride to collapse. The mystery was truly a mystery. This was a ride that had passed all its safety checks. How could it have failed so catastrophically? Well, the answer lay hidden within the complex mechanics of the spinning disc ride. Reports started to filter in, painting a disturbing picture. An electrical failure, some said. The words hung heavy over the town. Electrical failure. As the terrible truth of the cause began to circulate, the community of San Jose de la Rinconada fell into a state of collective shock and grief. The fair, previously a source of joy and unity, now stood as a grim reminder of the tragic accident. The sight of the normally vibrant spinning disc ride, now silenced and empty, sent shivers down the spines of those who passed. The mayor's plan to reopen the fair stirred different feelings in the town. To some, the idea of the fair reopening was a ray of hope, a potential silver lining amidst the clouds of despair. They wanted to revive the joyous summer tradition and fill their town's streets with happiness like before. They thought it might be a first step toward recovery and a way to reclaim the lives they had before the accident, which had so abruptly taken them away from them. But for others, the mere thought of reopening the fair was the same as opening an old wound. They no longer heard the cheerful chatter or lively music. All they could remember were the terrifying screams and the loud crash of the accident. They argued that it was too soon and too raw. They felt the town needed more time to heal and mourn the tragedy that had befallen them. A stark divide was created in the community. The once unified town was now split between the desire for a return to normal and the need for a prolonged period of mourning and recovery. The fairgrounds, which had always symbolized unity and community spirit, were now at the center of a complex emotional debate. Whispers filled the air, questions of safety and accountability intertwined with deep, shared sorrow. As the town tried to come to terms with this tragedy, one thing was clear. The annual summer fair of San Jose de la Rinconada would never be the same again. As the story of the San Jose de la Rinconada tragedy unfolded, we were reminded of the undeniable strength of the human spirit. Despite the horrific event that shook their beloved annual summer fair, the community's resilience shone through the darkness. The combined efforts of every person and their unity in the face of adversity showed the true heart of this small town. Together they held on to hope and the prospect of healing and recovery. Yet, amidst this optimism, the sheer shock and sadness of the incident remain. A night filled with joy and excitement abruptly turned into a nightmare, a stark reminder of the fragility and preciousness of life. It was a night that will forever be etched in the memory of the people of San Jose de la Rinconada, when laughter turned into cries and a festive ride became a scene of terror.